Hi, Julia. Thank you for joining me on the podcast. How are you doing?
Yeah, very welcome. Uh, I'm doing fine, except for cold. Whereabouts are you?
I'm in Leeds. Whereabouts are you?
Right. Well, we're in Cheshire, but we've been in London and it was so hot there, we were falling over with the heat. And we've come back and we've got the fire lit and it's wet and it's rainy straight away the very next day. Big shock,
That's
big
it.
shock. So is it raining where you are?
It has been, yeah. It's grey and miserable, but that's
Mm,
what it's
mm.
like up north, isn't it? So I've read you Imagine This book about your life and
Yeah.
growing up with John. It's a very insightful read, but it is a tragic story as well. Is it right you wrote this book because you weren't happy with how John and your mother were portrayed?
Yes, very much so. You be too young to remember, but you may know about it, especially if you've read the book. There was a panorama documentary in 1985. I think it was December the 6th. I think the 6th. And it was about meant to commemorate 5 years since John had died. And I have three children, but two of them were teenagers. And they both wanted to watch it because everyone in school would have watched it, wouldn't they? They would be the only people if I said we're not watching this. I found it upsetting, of course, but then I realized I'm a teacher myself, or I was, that they couldn't go to school as the only people who hadn't watched it. I realized that. So we put the youngster to bed and we sat and watched it. And I was things had already been said that weren't right. But this was the BBC, and you know how much trouble the BBC is in now for being biased in one way and biased in another way and denying it all the time. Well, at that time, the BBC was like the god of British broadcasting. Everybody turned to the BBC. And I think they still got that mentality, but it's not true anymore because they've been found out so often. And anyway, at this time, it was sort of taken as the truth, what was in the documentary. And I was just rocked by it. I cried through it and then started to do something about it. Now had three children, single parent, full-time teaching job, all at school, homework for them, homework for me, a very busy, busy, busy life. I didn't have time to write a book. I really didn't. It had never been in my head ever, but I couldn't let it go. I could not let this go, Ethan. I couldn't just say, well, never mind. And I did speak to some members of my family, and they said, but we know that's not true. We know it's not true. But it was just for me, I thought, it's not good enough. It's not good enough that we know it's not true because now the most respected um, uh, media organization in the UK had made pronouncements. So I had to oppose those pronouncements, really. And it started with um, a letter, not a letter, an article in our local paper, the Liverpool Echo. And you'll have one. I don't know what your Leeds one is, but the one that lands on everyone's doorstep every night and everyone reads it. They get their telly information from it. You do the crossword and you learn about what's going on in the next road up in town, what happened on Saturday night. We were local people and our local paper was the Echo. So I rang the Echo and said, did you set in those days when you could speak to somebody? You won't remember that either, when you could pick the phone up and actually talk to somebody. And the editor came to see me and he said, well, we in Liverpool know that's not true. We know that program, he said, I watched it myself. I know the program was wrong. And if you want to do something about it, then I will help you. That's how it started. That's why the book came into being. Otherwise, if it had been a little bit wrong, no one gets anything 100% right. I probably haven't got it 100% right, even though I've done my best. I just thought And he was saying the same thing. You know, obviously that's wrong. Obviously that's wrong. We know where you lived. We know what happened. But outside Liverpool, they were being told something completely different. So that's why the book was written.
With the book, when you're writing it, are you learning new things yourself and are you connecting dots in your past and stuff?
Yeah, you are. Yeah, you're bang to rights there. Yes, I learned that I had a sister I knew nothing about, and that the editor of the Echo actually told me that. And he looked at me and he said, "You don't know, do you?" And I said, "No, I don't." He said, "I'm going to go back to the office. I'm going to go away and I'm going to leave you to find out what you can or not find out or not bother anymore," because he could see it was a total shock to me. So he left, and the minute he was out of the house, I got in the car and went to see my aunt, my mother's middle sister, and she, Nanny, her name was Anne, and we all called them, we had nicknames for them all. She was Nanny. And I went and I said, "Nanny, you've got to tell me about Victoria." And her face must have been the same as my face with the echo because it was a family secret. It was the skeleton, one of the skeletons in the cupboard. And I said, "You've got to tell me. I've just spoken to the editor of the Echo, and he told me." She just told me very briefly that my mother had had a baby in June 1945 that had subsequently been adopted. And she was sobbing and she said, "I will not discuss your mother's pain with you." And she ran upstairs and I was downstairs and we were both crying. And she came down. I put the kettle on, as you do. And she came down about 5 minutes later and we had tea and we had what would be a normal visit. She couldn't speak about it. And I couldn't push her. I couldn't, it would be wrong. She told me, yes, it was true. I wasn't going to be able to, I wasn't going to throw her against a wall and say, "Tell me everything," or anything like that. It had to come from her. And of course, she was reliving terrible things then. She'd been made to think about it again.
Yeah, definitely. It must have been hard conversations that you had. Why do you think she
It
opened
was
up at that point, your auntie?
because because I forced her to, really. I said, "I'm not leaving until you at least tell me, was there a sister? Is he right? He's a journalist. Is he right?"
How did he know? Do you know?
Ah, he said to me, "We know all about your family in Liverpool."
Oh, really? Yeah.
How he knew it. That's how he knew it was all wrong. The story. That's how he knew the panorama story was wrong. He said, "We know your family. We know where everybody lived and went to school." But honorably, they'd never mentioned it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, so your childhood really is split in two parts, isn't it?
it
First
is
part up to the age of 11, and then after that, what was the first part like?
the best. Just the best. I just said, I put a little bit, one little sentence in the first bit, and it says, the tar on the roads, it was always very hot in the summer, bubbled and burst and smelt like heaven. We just we just had a completely normal childhood, which is what anybody wants. You don't want it to be outlandishly this or outlandishly that. You don't want to be never eating. You don't want to be eating like a pig. We just had a normal childhood. We had parents that my father went out to work. He was a hotel manager, so he was in and out at odd times. And my mother didn't. Most women didn't go to work. She looked after us. We never came home to an empty house or anything because my mother didn't need to work. In those days, mothers looked after their children. So it was just heavenly for me and for my sister, Jackie. And then, of course, everything changed when my mother died, and we moved in with my mother's younger sister. Um, we acquired a sister and a brother who were cousins, but became instantly sisters and brothers. And that was the older one had just left to go to Edinburgh University to study medicine. She was 10 years older than me. So I was 11 and she was 19, 20 and had gone off to do medicine. And David, who was 11 months younger than me, and he became like my soulmate. He was the best thing ever. There are always good sides, silver linings, and David was the silver lining. He suddenly got two giggling girls, right in his bedroom, taking everything off him, and that we were a powerhouse, the two of us, and we got him. That was the prize. We got David.
Well, when John was 5, you weren't born at this point, but he went to live without Mimi. When did you know you had a brother that lived with your auntie?
Always. I've never known a life without John. He knew a life without me and Jackie in it because I'm 6.5 years younger than him, and Jackie's 9 years younger than him. So how they kept a baby away from him, would imagine, Victoria, I would imagine that that's part of the reason why he started to go to stay with Mimi.
Yeah.
As she was getting bigger and bigger, because he didn't know about it. He definitely didn't know. People have said, do you think he knew? With all his money at that time, he would have unearthed everything to find her. He wouldn't have had to go, would he, looking for her? He'd have just got a team of detectives and she'd have been found in a day.
Yeah, definitely. And he'd have spoke
So,
to you about it as well, wouldn't
yes, yeah. Absolutely, he would have done. He would have done. But he would have found her as well. He had the capability to find her. Of course, she didn't know she was adopted until she was 18, 18. Um, in those days, if you were adopted, it was a final thing. Your birth mother had um, left you, or the baby was torn away from you, and it went to the adoptive parents and cut all ties. It was considered that that was the better option. I don't know. I really don't know. Nowadays, the connection with the birth mother particularly is kept, and often the children stay in sort of limbo, being looked after by foster parents, and maybe mum can get back on her feet and get the children back. And that does happen. That's the very best option. Of course, always the best option is to be with your own natural parents, particularly your own mother, if it's possible. Not always possible. But in those days, when Victoria was 6 weeks old, she was just taken away, and that was that. And that was just done. And many adopted children found out they were adopted when they wanted to go on a school trip and
they?
they needed to get a passport for the very first time. And I knew someone in my school that I was very friendly with. She lived in a lovely, lovely house, much bigger than ours, all beautiful, with lovely, lovely parents, an only child. And they spoiled her and they spoiled me when I was there. They were a lovely, lovely family. One day when we got to know each other quite a lot, we were sitting in front of her fire and she said, I'm going to tell you my secret. I said, oh, and I had no idea. And she got a piece of paper and she wrote in it and gave it to me. And it just said adopted. And she took it off me and threw it in the fire. And she
Really?
said, I don't want to talk about it, but I just want you to know. And I said, uh, right, right. Uh, you know, okay. We never ever mentioned it again. But we were going on the school trip and she needed a passport. And the parents had to give her her birth certificate.
That must be an awful
So,
way to find out as well,
yeah,
realistically.
we can't imagine how we treated children in those days is beyond all belief, isn't it? So she knew and she wanted someone else to know. And
Yeah.
we were close. So she told me. But she'd only just known herself. And I think Victoria found out in the same way. I think
Oh, really? Yeah.
she I think she found her birth certificate in the bottom of a wardrobe or on the top of a wardrobe. These are common stories, Ethan, common stories.
Yeah.
Mm.
We mentioned John were at Mimi's. She took him off of your mother when she started seeing your father, didn't she?
I think she actually did the final wrench then. Mimi had never had children. She was engaged to a doctor in one of the wards in Fazakerley Hospital, which deals with infectious diseases in Liverpool. It's quite famous. And he was a doctor on the wards. And Mimi did nursing. And maybe that's how they met. And he contracted one of these infections and died. And they were engaged. So maybe she never recovered from that. You know, maybe.
Yeah.
So she wasn't going to have children. The family knew that Uncle George, that she did marry, had to persuade her for years to get married. And she got married on the condition that there would be no children. In fairness, I do try and look at it from other angles. She was the oldest of 5 children. So in those days, you know what that means. She would be helping all the
Yeah.
time, wouldn't she? And particularly since she was a girl.
Why do you think it is that she didn't want children, but she was so persistent in having John?
Because if I said opportunism, do you know what I'm saying? It's an opportunity that presents itself that you didn't expect, but you think, I'm having that, I'm doing that, that's for me, that's got my name on it. And my mother, having Victoria, was the turning point. That she was very ill during the pregnancy. I found out this later. And she was helping out. And she'd suddenly got a ready-made 5.5-year-old.
Yeah.
All those early problems were already done. I think it was an act of very egotistical opportunism. She'd not wanted children, and one landed in her lap in a way.
Yeah.
It
Well, yeah, exactly.
happened to be poor John. And that's called opportunism. You see an opportunity that you didn't know was coming, and you take it. You take it.
How would you describe your relationship with Mimi?
Strained, normally. I think after my mother died, I look very like her. Jackie and I look very like my mother. And I honestly believe she was reminded of her every time she saw me, and the name as well, Julia.
Mm, yeah.
I think I was too in her face. I was Julia's daughter, called Julia, and uh, fairly bright, and I was knitting things together all the time up here.
Like you say, it was a tough relationship with Mimi, and you didn't like speak to her too much about your mother and John and things. Even in her final days, you were pretty
No,
nervous to do that. If you could go back and ask her one question now, what would you ask her?
why?
Really, yeah.
Why? Yeah,
That'd lead to a lot more
why?
questions, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yes, because it's an open-ended question. If you ask a closed question, there's only one answer, isn't it? But an open-ended question, but then she wouldn't have answered it, I don't think. We, again, in those far back days, we were brought up to have manners, and it didn't always do you the best favors. We didn't challenge our elders and betters, they were known as. Well, they might have been elders, but they weren't always betters. And nowadays, I think it's swung the other way. I think children are incredibly rude in a lot of cases to older people. And I don't like it because I'm a product of a time that was more polite altogether, or just a bit more considerate of other people's feelings. And it wasn't up to me to lie me down and get the kitchen knife and open her up and say, right, I want to know everything. That wasn't my place. It wasn't John's place. I don't think he ever asked her why either, but he had the biggest questions, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. What was John like as an older brother through the years then?
When you a completely normal older brother, I can see, I can hear, and thank you that you've read the book thoroughly. You know what you're talking about. So he was a classic older brother. When we were growing up in the pre-11 days, the heavenly days, John was sort of learning banjo at home with my mother and stuff like that. And Liverpool is a Catholic city, big families, particularly in those days. Everyone in our road had 6 children, 8 children. I think one lady even had 11 further up the road. There were just children everywhere. And we were used to that. And uh, everyone was somewhere within the hierarchy of their own family. Like Jackie was the baby, and I was the next, and John was next up to me. But because of the relationship with that my mother had, there wasn't 3 in between me and John. So the next one was John. And he was very much an older brother, very caring, very bossy, played with us, took us to the pictures. We went to see the Elvis films with him and my mother, because my mother was the Elvis fan, the big Elvis fan. Um, so he was very much as any older brother was, any older brother.
Later on, the Beatles obviously wrote songs about Strawberry Fields and Penny Lane. Have you got memories of these places in Liverpool?
Yeah, yeah. Strawberry Field, not so much. We knew it as the orphanage, and it was never an orphanage. It was a children's home where, again, the Times, no welfare state, and in some cases there'd be 8 children, and Dad would die, probably of hard work, and several of the children might be taken in by the Salvation Army, although their mother was still there. And sometimes the mother had died and the father couldn't cope because he had a job. So 2 of the children would go to the Salvation Army. This actually happened to John's own father when he was small. He was one of, I think, 6. And his own father died, another John Lennon. And the 2 youngest children, Alfred and baby Edith, were taken in by the Blue Coat orphanage that used to do things at that time, Blue Coat Children's Home. And they went back to Polly, their mother, for the holidays, and then went back to the Blue Coat. My mother met him there when she was 14 because it was local to the house they were living in. It was quite it was not unusual to be in a children's home where one of your parents was still alive and you still met them, but there were no state handouts then to pay the rent, to food, shoes. It was beyond the surviving parent to cope. And many institutions would take them in. And the Salvation Army is a very, very famous one. And so Salvation Army, Strawberry Field, we all knew where it was. We all went there. We went to the school fete, the annual fetes, and all the money would go to the Salvation Army. And I'm sure you know it's still there.
Mm.
The different sort of program, but still dealing with not mainstream students. and I am the honorary president there, and I do a lot of volunteer work there
Oh, really?
in Strawberry Field.
Oh, that's nice to
Yeah,
hear.
yeah. It is not. It's one of the better things that I do.
Well, we'll get onto it later, but you did a lot of things for helping people. Like you said, you were a teacher and you went to India for Save the Children and stuff. So you've done a lot to
Yeah.
help people out.
Well, I've always enjoyed that, but you often find that people who have been damaged in some way are more inclined and usually good at helping other people because they don't do it through a book. They do it through experience.
Yeah, yeah, I agree
Yeah.
with that.
You're in that child's head, you know what's going on. When I was at work, I worked for the school psychological service for the last 15 years. And I worked on a big estate, on three big estates, and then eventually just one big estate because there were that much work there. I was eventually left in one big estate, and so many children and youngsters that needed help. I worked in EBD, emotional and behavioral difficulties, and I had between 5 and 8, usually lads, in a unit that I cared for. And I understood. I didn't need a book. I understood them. Even when they were being foul, I understood them. I could sit and talk to them from personal knowledge. And they
Yeah,
would listen to me because it was like, yeah. And when the book was published, I asked my publisher for about 50 books, and you get about 5 or 10. And she said, well, we can give you 15. I said, no, 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 I need more than that, need more than that. She said, why do you need them? I said, because all my families are going to have a copy. And they all got a hard copy because they didn't know anything about John. They knew nothing. But one of the mums, where I had 3 of her children as students, said, we knew you knew. We just knew that you knew. Meaning, we knew that you understood what's going on, but we didn't know why, and now we do.
that must have been pretty
And
nice to hear.
yeah, yeah, it's very difficult for someone who's never had that damage massaged into them to actually look at someone and think, I know what we can do here, and got an idea about this. They have to go to a textbook or somebody that said something 50 years ago. It's not innate in them. And they're very lucky. They're lucky that it isn't. But they're not always the right people for the job.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the tragedies, yours and John's mother, Julia, died by getting hit by a car, and you saw her going to Mimi's. Um, that kind of was upsetting in the book. Obviously, the whole story is upsetting, but the thing where you saw her and you got like a feeling that something wasn't right, didn't you?
I did. I did. I've had it on a couple of occasions in my life, and they've turned out to be true. It's pretty damn scary, Ethan, to have that. It's not something I cultivate in myself or I like in myself, but if I get that feeling, I act on it immediately.
What is it? Is it like you just feel it in your stomach kind of thing?
I can't explain it. I just knew. Can't explain it. I don't talk about it either. I haven't shut you down on it because you're young and because I'm very impressed that you know so much about the book. I'm really pleased about that. So many people interview me and they've not even picked it up. Oh, well, I'll read it tomorrow. I just say, yeah, right. But I do get that feeling occasionally, and it just comes. There's a situation, and it's there. I can't explain it. I can't. Maybe I'm a witch. My children used to call me the Wicked Witch of the West.
I don't. I think if we're speaking of your mother, it's fair to say that she probably had the most musical influence on John, didn't she?
Yes, for sure. Absolutely. Well, she used to play the piano while she was doing When You Go Down to the Woods Today. We were just used to that. It was like crazy. I don't, but nearly every house had a piano, Ethan. Sing songs. I mean, you must have heard of the old sing song. Nearly every house had their granny's piano, and we were in exactly that situation. What we did have that was different was a very musical mother, and my grandfather had been to see her father, Pop. And when he came home, when he retired, he went to work in shipping in Liverpool, shipping insurance, and stayed near the sea. And he brought home two things. One was a monkey, and the other one was the banjo. So he taught my mother to play the banjo. I never met the monkey, but I believe, I don't know what happened to it because he used to fling himself around the house and bringing the curtains down. So I'm sure he might have ended up in a zoo. I don't know, but he did bring one home. And then the banjo. So my mother played the banjo. She also played ukulele and she played uh, the piano accordion, the great big one. Yeah, that she had to sit down and strap it. The straps are like this, like the Swiss trousers that you see with great big leather straps. And she'd have to strap herself in and then stand up and plant her feet. She was only 5'2". And then, oh, the most heavenly French type music. She just played by ear. So she could translate the piano skills to obviously to this big instrument. You don't see them so often now. You see the
No.
little one, people do the small ones, but this was the original big, big instrument. And John wanted to learn from her the instruments that she knew. And that was so um, she was very interested, and obviously it was a big link between her and John.
Yeah. What was it like watching him
Mm.
learn and your mother teaching him?
Well, yeah, well, we watched it and then we'd go out to play. And then um, that became the precursors of the Quarrymen coming into the kitchen. There's quite a big kitchen, what you would call a kitchen, eating kitchen, a kitchen that was a big table in it. It was a big kitchen. And they'd come in and they'd take the kitchen over to rehearse. And Jackie and I used to scarp and we used to go out to play with our friends. And sometimes we'd say, oh, come and listen to this, come and listen to this. And about six of us would be outside the kitchen window and then we'd go off and play. But my mother, because she had an interest in the music, she would actually encourage them to come. Colin Hanton's mother would allow them to come to rehearse, but only on Saturday morning, Saturday afternoon when she was out shopping. As soon as she came back, they had to scarp her.
I wanted to ask you as well, with the book, did that inspire the Nowhere Boy film?
It was supposed to, but it didn't. I
No,
don't know if you've seen the film.
yeah, have you?
Terrible. I drew from any support of it whatsoever. Publisher wasn't pleased with me, I can tell you, because it means that they sell a lot more books. It's attached to the film, as a teacher, a picture speaks 1,000 words. I thought it was going to be fantastic, and it was an absolute travesty. And in the end, my publisher, who had been very kind with me over all the books and everything, she said, will you at least come down and we'll see it together, just you and me? And I said, yes, all right, I'll do that. So I went to London and we went to see it in a little private cinema. And I cried most of the way through it. And I just said, Rowena, I can't go with this. I said, it's nothing like the book. I know it's nothing like the book. They've made it up. They've made it up. And there was a thing on Woman's Hour talking about it, and they interviewed Anne-Marie Duff, who played my mother. And when I heard about it, I thought, oh, right, she's a great actress, and I'm sure that she could be made to look like my mother. Uh, and she was being interviewed by Jenny Murray. And Jenny Murray said about the film, and she said, "Oh, John's mother was very flaky, wasn't she?" And she said, "Yeah, well, yeah, she was really flaky, like." And I just thought, oh God,
Must be
they
horrible.
haven't read the book, have they?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So they've not read it. They're not interested. And how many? She actually said in another interview, "It's only a film," and that's what Sam Taylor Wood said to me. "It's only a film.
It's not.
It's
It's your
about your
life, isn't it?
life." Yeah. Yeah,
Like,
it's all about money. All about money. So I actually sent Jenny Murray a book to the BBC. Never heard from her, of course. Never heard.
yeah,
Even if she'd written to me privately and said, "I'm so sorry. I have read your book and thank you for that." Even not on, I wasn't expecting apologies on the radio. If she just responded and said, "Thank you for that." One of the most respected journalists that everyone listened to, Jenny Murray, Woman Czar. It was an institution. Oh, she was flaky, wasn't she? Yeah, really, really flaky.
that's the knock-on effects of that panorama thing in '85, really, isn't it?
You are very astute. You're so right. If I'd have been in Manchester where it was recorded, I'd have been at that studio door when they opened it to come out. I would.
That's what I mean. Like, you can say it's just a film and stuff, but if they say things about your mother like that that's being put into the public eye, then it's not right, is it?
Yeah. No, of course it isn't. Of course it isn't. But we're sort of powerless in these things. We're completely powerless. And of course, social media has got even worse since those days, hasn't it? You know, I mean, somebody takes up a thread on social media, and it will be all over the internet. At least, thank goodness, I escaped that bit.
What do you think John would think of like social media and the internet and everything like that?
Well, I really don't know. I think he probably would have enjoyed Twitter because he's a wordsmith, wasn't he? You know, playing with words. But it's become far more than the 140 odd characters that you could use to begin with, hasn't it? People write books and publish on Twitter, don't they? It's nothing. Social media has taken control of our lives. I'm not on it. I went
Yeah,
on Facebook and Twitter for a very short time and then off. I don't know what's on it. I do not know what is on. I don't know if those sites would have been closed down automatically. I just thought it's not for me. This isn't for me. So I just don't do it. I suppose WhatsApp is social media, isn't it? I do that, but not Instagram, Snapchat. I'm not on any of them. I think it can be poisonous, and
yeah.
I don't want to be in that world. I've already had public figures and not public figures making their own pronouncements on John, on my mother, on our lives. I don't need it when I put my phone on, do I?
No, exactly, exactly. So we mentioned the tragic death of your mother, which was very sad, but the knock-on effects for that were really sad as well. It was sad reading the story of how you went up to Edinburgh and you didn't know about what happened to your mum, and then you came
Mm,
back and your
mm.
aunties had sort of they didn't let you grieve really, did they?
No, but again, it was quite common in those days. I've since met a fair few people who said no, they weren't told about the death of their mother or their father or something. It was like children were totally inconsequential, seen and not heard.
Is that how it felt throughout the childhood as well, even with other things?
Um, no, only since our mother died. That's when it, because we didn't have anything to be like that about before that. Oh, they couldn't cope with it. My mother's sisters couldn't cope. They couldn't cope themselves. So they certainly weren't going to put themselves through the agony of empathizing with her children. They weren't going to do that. And people, because of John being John, the world icon, they obviously and rightly say how devastating, how it changed his life, how that he was already a rebel because he'd been torn away from our mother, and now he was a real rebel. Um, Jackie had it far worse than John did. She
Really?
was 8 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
And
far worse.
like you say, that's 8 years with your mother, whereas with John, as long I'm sure, like you said, they loved each other and stuff, but he didn't have that like intimacy as much, did he? Like he was still getting to know her, really, wasn't
Yeah, that's it. He was still, yeah, moving, and he was about to move back in, but he was still moving in. Jackie, it was a three-bedroom house, and Jackie had a small bedroom, and I had the big bedroom with the double bed in it. And every time either my grandmother came, she would sleep with me in the big bed, and Jackie kept her room. But when John came, which was often the weekends, holidays, after school, sometimes he didn't go to school. He'd be in our house all day in his uniform with my mother. My mother never packed him off to school. He'd get the bus up to Penny Lane, and instead of going to school, he'd get the bus back down in an angle to come to Springwood and spend the day with my mother. We'd come home from school. John was there. We never questioned it, in his uniform. Never questioned
it?
it. Uh, but when he came and he stayed, Jackie slept in the big bed with me, and that was John's room. So Jackie and John shared that bedroom.
You mentioned there he was a rebel because he'd been took away from his mother. Then people think he's more of a rebel after your mother died. What did he change after your mother had died? Did you notice a change in him?
In John,
Yeah,
he was 17 and a half. He was free to come and go as he pleased. He was at art college. So the stories of him sitting on the bus to the terminus and back and just not getting off the bus, because he probably didn't want to face me, he didn't want to face anybody. But he had more freedom to express his grief. It was Jackie and I that was stuck in a house where it wasn't mentioned. Yeah.
yeah,
So I have my own feelings about all that, but obviously he became more of a rebel because he said himself, what was there to keep him in line now?
yeah. How much of an effect
Mm.
did it have on you? Obviously, I imagine it was a big effect.
Terrible. I really can't talk about that. It just turned
Oh,
our lives completely
oh
upside
yeah.
down. Yeah,
It
yeah.
is a tragedy. And like I said, it follows on through the book. Like the book's full of what ifs, isn't it?
It, it is. It is the world of what if. Yeah.
John, like you mentioned already, the Quarrymen. Then he had the Beatles. What was it like when he was in the Beatles? Can you remember the excitement around it all?
Yeah, we did. The whole family went to everything in Liverpool, and then we went to London and did some London stuff. And when they bought the house, Cynthia and John bought the house in Kenwood. Jackie and I were the first people to go down and stay there. They didn't have a kitchen, they didn't have anything. He said, "I want the girls to come down straight away," and we did. Um, so, but of course, once it had taken a long time for them to get wound up and get going. But once they did, it was rapid, really, really rapid. But John didn't leave Liverpool until he was 23. And, you know, my friends with these big families, once their older siblings got to 18, they'd gone. They'd either gone to university to a different town. Nobody stayed at home and stayed in their own bedroom, went to be a student. And the others were working. If they hadn't gone to university or college, they were working at 16. So we were very lucky to have John in our lives constantly until 1963. October 1963, they went to London, and they didn't want to go. George didn't want to go at all. He was still getting the train from Liverpool to London for Decca recording because he didn't want to leave his mum. So in many ways, we had him longer But Brian Epstein was he'd made the move to London, and he knew that that's where all the contracts were, the work was, the studios were. Now these big stars, like they were then, could say, do you know what? I want to be in Snowdonia. And they'd send their tribe out to find a cottage in Snowdonia and make the best studio out of it. And they'd all go there. But it didn't happen in those days. They had to go to Decca or, wherever the studios were already established.
You mentioned Cynthia there. You had like a sisterly relationship with her, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah. She was wonderful. Absolutely. She took Jackie and I on as younger sisters right from the start. I was 12 when she came into our lives, and she was just lovely, really sweet with us and kind and caring, and never stopped. That always was the case.
That's another what if as well. If what if you never met Yoko, isn't it?
Well, he did. No, you're right, but he did. He did.
Do you think he saw Aunt Mimi in Yoko as the controlling
Yes.
figure?
Yeah, I do. And maybe he thought deep down, this is a what if, maybe. Maybe he thought deep down, oh, good, I don't have to think about anything anymore. It'll all be done.
Really? It's like
That's a what if.
it's like with the phone calls, isn't it? As well, she was quite controlling over them, wasn't she?
Yeah. Oh, for not just for me, certainly for me, but for all the family. Exactly the same, all the family. I said, was she wandering around with the phone in her pocket? She was controlling him. She didn't want his first family. What maybe Yoko never realized is that she was just a statistic in that. How many, well, you don't, you're too young. How many people of certainly my age would know second relationships where the first one is almost wiped out by the second one?
Yeah.
And the first thing many stupid men would say to the second woman that he meets is, oh, I've never been in love before. Oh, right. What about the 4 children then? Yeah. You know, men are stupid, aren't they? Stupid.
What?
I've never felt like this before. I've never seen anyone so beautiful before. What? You're 45. What a sad life you've had. I'm making fun of it here. But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I totally agree. What did
Yeah.
you think of Yoko? 'Cause you met her. Did you meet her once or twice?
Yeah, I've met her a few times. Um, well, she's small and spiky. Uh, not now. She's not well now, but she was a force of nature, I think you would call someone like her. She's a complete force of nature. And of course, had enough money to force nature to do what she wanted. The last time I met her, she came to Liverpool. And when we get a guest, we always say, what would you like to do? Is there anything special you'd like to do? I want to go to the Cavern. Well, she'd not asked. In the years and years she'd been coming to Liverpool, she had never mentioned the Cavern, where it all happened.
Yeah.
Why? 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 Is there an answer to that? It was strange that she hadn't wanted to come before. So there's 4 of us that own it. I'm the minor shareholder, I can tell you. And they phoned up and said, Yoko wants to see the Cavern, over to you. So, all right then. So I went over to Liverpool on the day. Can't remember when it was, about 20 years ago. And me, Bill, Dave, and George were like the 4 of us. We were drinking beers. It was about 10 o'clock in the morning because we're stupid. And she arrived with a coterie. It was like the army, a coterie of people. There were about 8 men with her. 8. Maybe 6, I'd say 8. It's like, is she in the middle of that lot? Is she there? So we went into what's laughingly called the green room. If you're ever in Liverpool, come and see, come to the Cavern. Let me know. Come to the Cavern. I'll give you a tour.
Oh,
We've
thank
got a green room that is decidedly patchy, and it's not exactly what you'd think it was a green room.
you.
But we do occasionally put a banana and an apple in it. And there is a, a cabinet with fresh, cold water for the bands to drink if they want it. Of course, they've got the bar if they want the beers. So we came in and we sat down and we're just having a bit of a chat. And she was the most unresponsive. She did not want to be there. She didn't want to be in the Cavern. And all these stooges are standing around. And what she'd actually come for, it turned out in the end, anyone that sings on the Cavern stage, that has a presence, a media presence, a stage presence, a world presence, gets a space in all the cabinets around, a photograph, and when she was in the Cavern and what she did. So that was the lure. That's what she'd come for. She wanted to make her mark in the Cavern. So there was a bit of rumbling. We had a few words, and it was like pulling teeth. And I just said, "Oh, right, I'm going now." And she went onto the Cavern stage, escorted by the army, and they backed off. And she stood in front of the microphone and screamed, like screamed, the Yoko scream. So I went back and we watched her. The four of us were drinking these beers out of bottled beers and watching her. And, oh my God, oh my God. I think it was Dave said, well, she'll have to have a place in the case now. That's what she come for.
Jeez.
She didn't come because she was interested in where John started or anything like that. She came to scream on the stage.
That's crazy, isn't it?
She's a crazy dude.
She comes across as a bit. Obviously, it's only what we see of her. She might be a lovely woman, but she comes across a bit sort of selfish and self-centered sometimes. I don't know if that's just
Yeah, yeah.
perception of her,
Well,
but
you can't hide that. If it's in you, you can't hide it, can you? They say that uh, you wear the face that you've earned or worked at all your life as you're older.
yeah,
You sort of wear that face. It becomes like that, doesn't it? And you can see who she is by looking at her, can't you?
yeah, exactly. And I had May Pine on the podcast, and she's obviously went out with John, and she tried to re-establish his relationship with Julian, but when he went back to Yoko, she, like say, cut him off his Liverpool family, didn't she?
Yeah, 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 yeah. But I blame John for that. I don't blame her.
Stood up for
I
himself.
think absolutely, absolutely. It goes back to the classic second wife. It wasn't that he was a Beatle, famous, fabulously wealthy. I don't think it was any of that. Deep down, the core is I am the woman he was meant to meet and marry and have a child with, live with. And that Cynthia was a blip on the horizon because he hadn't met her yet. That's sort of so anything that came before, which was his entire family and his son, were just dismissed. And of course, it's easy when you've got the Atlantic between you, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah, exactly.
But where's John in this? I'll speak to Tony Cox, her previous husband, about Kyoko, and you speak to Cynthia about Julian. Whose idea was that? Who agreed with it? Whosever idea it was, who agreed with it?
Yeah.
You've got to
Oh,
put the blame where the blame lies. And I blame John for his neglect of Julian, not Yoko.
yeah.
I can blame him for many things, but not that. He was a grown man.
Yeah. Like you say, if it's her idea, it's bad, but he shouldn't have gone along with it, should he?
That idea should never have even got out of the room.
No, 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 no.
No, John could laugh. John could belly laugh. He should have belly laughed at that and gone straight away and phoned Julian and had a chat with him.
Yeah, yeah. Are you
Yeah,
surprised at John with that, with how his father was with him when he was distant? His father wasn't he?
I know. It's history repeating itself, isn't it? It's so sad.
Yeah.
So sad. And of course, we all think we've got forever and a day, don't we? We think we've got forever. And we don't know at the second, the minute. You beware of this. We do not know. The Bible has a lovely thing, a lovely saying. Psalms, David says, do not go to bed in an angry state.
Yeah.
That's all it says. As you don't know if you've given somebody a piece of your mind, if either you or they are going to be there the next day to say, oh, I'm sorry about that. But it's a lesson that we never learn, isn't it?
I'm sure you've had that quite a bit as well, where you wish you'd have said something maybe to people like maybe your mother or John or your father.
So, but we don't know. None of us know.
Yeah,
None of
exactly.
us know. Just try and be kind to people. Not girls be kind, 6-year-old girls would be kind. Sod off. 6-year-old boys need t-shirts with be kind on, if you ask me. Um, but for everyone, be
Yeah.
kind.
No, I totally agree with that message.
Be be the best version of yourself that you can be, and then you'll wear that face.
Do you know with John when he went over to America, he's doing like you mentioned in the book, he's doing these like bed lie-ins and getting into like bags and stuff. Do you think that was their
Oh,
idea and he went along with that as well?
oh, I don't know. I don't. Yoko had done crazy things before, hadn't she? So, I mean, and obviously John had done crazy things too. And you get two crazies together, and you get madness, don't you? I mean, I said it was the most embarrassing thing, and he said, "Yes, I look back now, and I'm sorry. I am really, really sorry." I said, "Well, it's a bit late now, John."
Is that what he
Yeah,
said? Yeah.
he's in the ivory tower. We were out on the street.
What are your favourite memories of the Beatles then? Because you went to see them live and stuff, didn't you?
We did. Um, favorite memories. Meeting the Rolling Stones in the dressing room. That was a good memory.
Oh yeah, you preferred the
Um,
Rolling Stones, did you?
I do. I do. I do. They never sold out, Ethan, and they never made any trash like Yellow Submarine, did they? And that stupid magical mystery tour film. Even Paul has said we shouldn't have done it. If they weren't Beatles, that would never have been made, would it?
No, it must be crazy when you can, like you say, it wasn't a great film, was it? But when you can just have an idea like that and because you're Beatles, it just comes off power in it.
Yeah, yeah.
When the Beatles are big and you're John Lennon's sister, does it change your life as well?
I've never been anything else. So, but it was a sort of gradual process. And the whole thing has been tarnished with our losing our mother. John didn't lose his mother. Three of us lost our mother,
Yeah, yeah.
and it changed everything. It changed everything. Yeah. So I've only known life as John's sister. I'm still John's sister, even though John is no longer here,
Yeah.
which is why I'm speaking to you, because you wouldn't have thought, oh, do you know what? I'll go and find someone in Cheshire and have a chat with her, would you?
No, but it's great to hear your side of things, like another
I
perspective.
know, I'm saying you're asking me because I'm still John's sister.
All right, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you haven't gone out fishing for somebody in Cheshire and said, let's have a chat, have you?
what what did
Never.
what did you think of his songs about your mother, like the song "Mother" and Julia?
Um, I don't like the mother song. He never knew what I found out. John didn't know the stuff that I unearthed in research, starting with the editor of the Echo. I then became Inspector Clouseau, or Sherlock Holmes or a combination of both. Everything. I was looking, reading, talking to people to make what became the book in the end of the day, at the end of the day. And I certainly haven't included everything that I know. I've included enough to explain the situation. And that was all that was needed. But I'm still John's sister, and I will be until I die myself. And then with my own children, it's all watered down, isn't it? If they don't want to disclose that to anyone, they don't ever need to.
Do they know how
That could,
important and big John was as like their uncle? Do
oh
they?
yeah, oh yes, yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely they do. Yes. Yeah.
Do you talk about him
So
a lot within the family, or is it what's that like?
yeah, no, he's just John. Yeah, he's just John, and I can't bear it. This is just me. If like journalists, you haven't done it because I'd have cut you out right. I'd have said something to you straight away. Uh, what was it like growing up with Lennon? I say, oh, and I'll find I normally know their surnames, and I'll say, well, Smith, and they look, yeah, they think it's all right.
Yeah. No,
They
it's just
call my brother
respectable
his
to say
surname to
John,
me.
isn't it? Like,
There's no respect. There's very little respect anyway. I normally say no to these, So I thought, you're 24. Okay, I'll give them a go. I wouldn't have done it if you were any older.
I appreciate you with a tie,
There's,
really, I do.
there's no reason to be doing it. And you're from the north, so you all the little pointers that say, give him a go, give him a go. But I didn't know if I could get to you. I was, my partner's in the other room, and I was about to shout, "Roger, come in here, quick, quick!" I can't do it, but it came up.
This is why I do the podcast because it's great to hear your stories and, like you say, what it was like with John. And it's another perception that, like, people have read books on John, haven't they? Like, there's biographies on him, and if they're right or wrong, people have their own, like, interpretation of it. But it's great to hear somebody who was there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Almost the horse's mouth, is it? You're absolutely right about that. You're right. So I did a podcast about 3, 4 weeks ago with Giles Brandreth, if you want to listen to that. It's called the Rosebud Podcast. Well, I did a podcast with him,
Did you
but
enjoy it?
he didn't get any of the information you're getting. He didn't ask the right questions, and I just let it go.
Really?
Yeah.
What do you think I've asked it? What if you liked the questions? Didn't want to like. I don't know. 'Cause it's a tough subject, isn't it? Speaking about like your mother and John and stuff.
It is. It
You want to
is.
be
It is. Well,
respectful.
I don't. Yes, and I normally just cut it at that point. Not cut the interview. Just I'm not talking about that. I normally do save that, but um, his is a lighter one altogether. The punk podcast I did with him is completely a different. It goes on a different track, really.
Like when the Beatles got bigger, you gradually lost touch with John, and then you would speak to him on the phone. He came to find you, didn't he?
Yeah, 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 yeah. He phoned us. I got the first big phone call in spring 1974. Uh, after he'd come off all the drugs and before Sean was born. And we just chatted and chatted and chatted endlessly about our mother mainly, family. Yeah. He's like he'd been starved of being able to talk about his family. So we talked about everybody. He wanted to know everything about everybody.
Do you think you missed Liverpool and England?
Yes, yeah, 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 yeah.
What were those conversations like? Was it like speaking to somebody like a brother, or is it been that long that it's felt a bit like a stranger at times?
No, no. You fell right back into it straight away.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a shame as well because he was going to come back and visit England, wasn't he?
He did. One of my favorite of his songs is Watching the Wheels,
Yeah,
when he
brilliant.
took that time up after Sean. And I think it was Sony or some big record company, they were saying to John, oh, people will forget about you, they won't know who you are. They were more worried about themselves, because they could make money if John was out making a record. And he said that the Watching the Wheels was a reply that they eventually got, saying, I'm just taking time out, leave me alone, just leave me alone. So, and then he did Watching the Wheels, and then he went straight into Starting Over, didn't he?
Yeah, another great song. Didn't he say to you he couldn't have wrote that if he didn't have a break?
He was having a break. I mean, being a Beatle was damned hard work.
Yeah. That was part of the reason he moved to New
Didn't just
York, wasn't
happen. Uh, well, they were living in Berkshire in Tittenhurst
he? Mm.
in a big mansion, and that's where they recorded Imagine and everything. Yoko wanted to show him New York, and there will have been an element also of wanting to put the Atlantic between him and his family.
Do you really think that he wanted to get away from
Oh,
it?
yeah. Yeah,
Really?
for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think that is? Do you think that is the hurt of losing his mum? Well, your mum.
Well, yeah, well, he didn't, I don't think he ever thought we're in what ifs again. He never thought he wasn't coming back, did he?
No.
He didn't know about the green card before he went. He didn't know about, I mean, the situation that he would have with the green card and Nixon, FBI trailing him. And he didn't know any of that was going to happen. He was going to have a look at Yoko's New York.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
It is sad, isn't it, how it
These
all
things happen to all of us, but not on the world stage, not in the public eye.
That's another thing. Your life has been in the public eye. Like, people could have had the life you've led, but it's not in the public eye because their brother's not John Lennon in it.
Right. And I keep out of it as much as I can. I could, right from the start, I could have been doing an awful lot more. And I never want that side of fame. I don't want it. I am absolutely not interested. And most of it is putting the record straight.
Like I say, it's important to put the record straight. And like I said earlier, there's a lot of things about the Beatles and about John that is just purely money based, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is. Of course it is. Yeah.
What are you? I read in the online your thoughts on the biopic. You wish it had been Scousers playing them, didn't you?
Oh, right. Do you mean the Sam Mendes one?
Yeah, is it the
Do you mean the
upcoming
one
one?
that's
Yeah.
cut? Yeah, 28, 1928, 2028. If I'm still here. Um, well, has he ever been to Liverpool, Sam Mendes? Paul Mescal's in everything.
Yeah, yeah,
He's
yeah.
in everything. He's probably going to do all four of them. There was a film years ago, Kind Hearts and Coronets, and Alec Guinness was in it, and he played 9 parts. He was the only actor in it. Well, Paul Mescal's on that track. He's probably going to do all four of them.
Do you know
Sam Mendes, watch out.
with the
Eh?
biopic? Obviously, there's Yoko, isn't there? But for the later years, but with the early years, do you ever get contacted about things like that?
No, they don't want to be wrong. They know it all. They'll read the wrong book and make the film.
Are you? Would you watch? Would you watch it? Or have you finished with things watching things on the Beatles and stuff?
Well, I don't. I watched a bit of, is it Get Back?
Oh yeah, I
The
watched
100 Hours of
Yeah, yeah.
Tea and Silence,
The,
and people saying John was a genius. John was on drugs at that time. He
yeah.
wasn't talking because maybe wasn't capable of talking, not because he was having deep and profound thoughts.
The thing,
It's like watching paint dry.
that's what I was going to say with the Beatles. It's like, as a fan, it's like a magical thing where it's like a magic trick. When somebody does a magic trick, you're like, oh, how do they do that and stuff? But when it gets revealed, it's like, oh, is that it? And that was like watching them in the studio. The magic had gone. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, because they want to they want to extract every last drop from the ocean.
Yeah,
And I just thought, I don't know. I watched about half an hour and I thought, oh no, I could die of boredom watching this. George was the most interesting, wasn't he? In the bit
yeah.
that I saw. Yeah. John was like a sloth.
Yoko was there as well. You could tell it was falling apart, couldn't you? And it wasn't the same.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a real opinion of it, of Get Back. And it's very similar to mine. All these eminent people coming out saying such rubbish. I couldn't believe it.
It is, yeah. Like if there's some, like I like watching stuff on the Beatles and stuff, but like with that, it was boring, wasn't it? It wasn't. I don't know. It just missed something, didn't it? It just they were just sat apart, wasn't it? Might as well have sat anybody in a room, really.
Yes, yeah, yeah. Just because it was the Beatles and two of them aren't here. I would like to think, what if? I would like to think that had John been alive, it would never have seen the light of day, ever. All the wrong people are making decisions, all the wrong people. But that's life, isn't it? It's what happens.
How many people have
Go on. Of
milked money out of that brand, and
course
how?
they do. Of course they do. It's a, it's what it's what everything seems to be about.
Yeah, yeah. Everything in the world is money in it. That's all everything's based on.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was sad in the book as well with the house, with Yoko. As soon as he died, trying to get the thing with the house and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it was all part of getting rid of the first family, wasn't
Yeah,
it? The final part of that plan. Of course, it's not what she wanted, of course. I do not ever go there. You know, I it was devastating for her, absolutely devastating. But it gave her the opportunity to finalize the John never had a first family.
there was no communication when he died, was there?
No, no. Mainly with Julian. Cynthia wanted to go with Julian, and Yoko said, "If to Cynthia, if you come, Julian can't come." So he had to sit on that plane at 17 alone with everyone talking about it, the man next to him reading about it. It's in all the headlines and all the papers. Cynthia was not allowed to go. You come, Julian doesn't.
That's not even. It's unfair on Julian, but it's unfair on Cynthia. Like she was his first love, and they've known each other since they were young. And I'm sure it hurt
Yeah,
her as
yeah,
much as
yeah,
it hurt Yoko.
yeah. Yeah. There's a, you can't, there's no explaining, you can't explain these things away. You just have to be a stoic and just accept that's what happened.
Like he had to pay for it, Yoko for his dad's stuff, didn't he? Like that's disgusting. I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's all part of the same getting rid of the first family. You don't get anything because you don't exist.
Yeah, that's if that's how people work, then it's their choice, but
Well,
it's not right.
nothing any nothing anyone can do because she had enough money and enough power to execute that feeling that he'd not met anyone, he'd not even been born, he'd not anything until he was 26. We all know what rubbish that is, but she's not the only one that feels like that in other relationships. But she was doing it in the public eye, which you'd think, oh, you won't do that where people are able to make comments on it. And Julian's talked about it online, hasn't he? Interviews where he's talked about it. It's just it won't give you the face you'd rather have when you're older.
Yeah, do you know what I don't understand as well? Like with Julian and Cynthia, with Yoko, he could put it down to jealousy that he had this first wife and this kid,
Yeah,
etc.
yeah,
But with
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you, like he stopped your phone calls, sisters, and how she like doesn't want his early life to be remembered rightly. She either does she?
No, no.
Like his
But
childhood, even before
fortunately,
Cynthia.
yeah, well, fortunately, she can't do anything about us, can she? She can't do anything about me talking to you,
No, no, no. But
can she?
I just find it bizarre that she doesn't want his story told properly. But
Yeah.
so after 1980, the last 45 years, we mentioned you've done a lot. You've been a teacher. You went to India with Save the Children. You mentioned Strawberry
Mm,
Fields and the Cavern Club. What's life been like for you
yeah.
in the past 45 years?
Uh, no. Well, I have to say, at this point in my life, I'm having great fun doing things. I'm enjoying everything. I have three children and three grandchildren, and it's lovely watching them grow. It's a great privilege to be here to watch them grow. And I've achieved, I think, a contentment. I don't think happiness is it's not a state of mind and it's not something that persists. We have flashes of happiness, don't we?
Yeah,
And you look back and you think, oh, that was a happy time. And sometimes, occasionally, if you're really alert, you're actually in a time you think, oh, I'm really, you know you're happy. And they're the best moments ever that you actually know that you're happy. Your heart is bursting with something nice. Like you're looking at a flower, or say you bite into something delicious, or you have a really funky drink, or music, and you're dancing before you know it, you're just up dancing. And these are moments of just happiness.
yeah.
Seeing children grow, seeing the grandchildren grow. It's just like, yeah, 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 yeah. There's moments of sadness, of course. What life doesn't have it, but
No.
they're almost normal sadnesses, and they're not written about, or they're not spoken about on telly, and they don't make programs about it.
How are you and Jackie doing these days personally?
Jackie's gone to live by the sea. She lived in the centre of London for years and years and years and years, and she's gone to live by the sea. And I sort of have never been able to really break the umbilical cord that is Liverpool. I like to be near Liverpool. I'm happy in Liverpool. I am happy in that place. It is my place. I belong there.
Is that how you feel? Does it feel like home that you can't like?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely, yeah.
It is a great city. I've been a couple of times. It is a really great city.
It is. Well, you're in a good city of your own, but Liverpool, it's got all that history because we're a port. We've been a
Yeah,
melting pot forever. It's not new to us to have loads of people coming in. We just divide the potatoes further.
it is a
That's what you
cliche,
do.
but you can feel the history of Liverpool when you're there.
Yeah, you can. You can. And since '08, when we got the culture money,
Oh yeah, yeah.
European City, yeah, we keep expecting them to ask for it back with Brexit, but they're not getting that money enabled the city to do so much. It was brilliant. It's had a lasting legacy.
Yeah, brilliant. You mentioned as well you've got a part ownership of the Cavern. What's that like? Like still
Yes.
seeing people. It's a tourist attraction, really, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh, it's huge. Absolutely huge. It's full every day. It's only closed on Christmas Day. After lockdown, we were thinking, oh, are people going to want to come out? Oh my goodness. They'll never be told to stay at home again in our lifetime. That will never, ever, ever happen again. I'm going out and don't you even stand in my way. And the Cavern has been the lucky, lucky recipient of people who want to come out and celebrate life.
Yeah,
You
brilliant.
got to come.
Yeah, definitely. I will definitely have to come and check it out. Yeah, I've
Mm.
never been to the Cavern actually.
Right. Well, let me know if you're coming.
Yeah, thank you. I will do.
If you can do it, include a Saturday and stay over because every Saturday there's a show in the Cavern and it takes you from A to Z in the history of the Beatles, change of clothes and all the rest of it. Uh, the drummer is often Chris Sharrock, who is Oasis drummer,
Oh yeah, yeah.
and it is fantastic. It's a fantastic show.
Do you still get gigs down there?
Yeah, everybody plays, truly. Yeah,
That's great. That
yeah,
it's still going.
yeah. Everybody wants to get on that stage, including Yoko.
What are your memories of when you went when you were younger? When it was the Beatles? Well, I know you never saw the Beatles there, but that era.
No, I didn't. I didn't because I was too young. And um, Allerton and Woolton, the two places that I'd lived, were technically outside Liverpool. Particularly when I was 11 and moved to Woolton, uh, the buses stopped at Penny Lane.
Oh yeah.
The last bus home was 20 past 9. Couldn't even go to the pictures in town. You had to go to the pictures in Penny Lane so you could walk home. We walked everywhere, absolutely everywhere. It was only when we were brought into Liverpool when I was 16 that we got the bus service. Yeah. So no, we didn't go. I've seen other bands there, and now I wander in and out, and it's just like a place to be. They do really good coffee. They do 0-0 beers if I've got the drive home, if I'm not staying the night. If Roger and I are staying the night, then we go all out and go and have a nice meal, and we always end up in the Cavern, always. It's the best
Yeah.
fun ever. I advise everyone to come.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. With the
Mm.
book, we mentioned it came out quite a long time ago. Is there anything you've learned or want to speak about that you've discovered after the book? Has anything come up since the book that you'd like to talk about?
No, things have happened, but as I said to you before, not everything that I know about my family, whether I knew it already or researched it and found it out, is in the book
Yeah, yeah,
because it wasn't relevant. When I was in America once on a book tour, um, one journalist said, I've been up all night. I started your book last night. I've been up all night reading it, which is great because it was fresh, and he knew. And I said, Oh, I hope you enjoyed it then. And he said, Well, it's a love letter to your mother, isn't it? I said, Yeah, it is. That's exactly what it is. On behalf of me, of John, and of Jackie.
yeah. I'm sure she'd be very proud of how you've put her story straight as well in John's story,
Well,
but
I had to.
particularly
I
hers.
had
Yeah,
to. Before I shuffle off this mortal coil, I couldn't sit for 50 years with that story getting wilder and wilder, more and more stupid. Couldn't, couldn't do it.
I can't imagine some of the stuff you've read in or seen on telly, and it's just like it's
And
rubbish, but
yeah, well, one journalist actually told me when Mimi was still alive that he'd interviewed Mimi, and she'd said that Julia, Judy, because they called her Judy, Judy went to live with a man who had two children. And the journalist said, Do you mean Julia and Jackie? Well, I suppose so. He said,
really.
They're Julia's children. And at that time, Julia was a really unusual name. As if you know, Julia, and I was definitely called after my mother. My father thought it was the most beautiful name he'd ever heard. And I'm the only one in the family without a middle name. He said, no middle name there. None. Just Julia. And we were supposed to be my father's children to somebody else, presumably. And he's a well-known journalist. He said, don't be silly, Mimi. We can't go on if that's how you're going to be. Don't be stupid. And
Gee,
I heard it from him.
that's really weird as well because didn't Yoko say the same kind of thing?
I don't know. Did she?
I thought you rang. You said, oh, and she said something like,
Oh,
I can't remember. Did she say something like
what?
you didn't even know John or something?
That's it. Yes, yes, yes. She didn't ever say that we weren't my mother's children, but what she said, that Mimi did say that. What she said when I spoke to her on the phone, she said, you hardly even knew John. You hardly even met him. I said, oh, don't be so bloody stupid, Yoko.
Crazy.
Yeah.
But that's the thing of
It's stupid.
how similar the link with Mimi and Yoko and the craziness of the whole
Yeah.
story.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you'd like to touch on before we finish?
No, no, you've been very good, very hardworking. You know your stuff. Well done. I've got a website that you can put up if anybody wants. Julia Baird, name lowercase .co.uk. And obviously they can get the book. But Paul Talks, I interviewed Paul, and it's been lasered down to get rid of me because I'm hopeless on it, to just leave Paul talking. And it's laced throughout the book. So that's on the website as well. So if you just stick the website in, and it's Paul talking about his relationship with John, his mother, my mother, everything.
That's brilliant, yeah. But we never touched on Paul. What was he like when he'd come round to the house?
Very nice. He's still nice. He's a nice man, a very nice man.
Yeah, and that's the link between John and Paul as well. Like how that's another what if how they came together and started the biggest band ever, and they both lost their mothers as well. Your mother and Paul's.
Well, that was a huge link with him, that they almost became like brothers to begin with. They had that massive link.
It's strange how the world works, how them two come together in it, and
It is.
it's just
It is, isn't it?
strange. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. It's a bit like stars kissing, isn't it?
yeah, yeah. Do you still speak to Paul then? You said they're still a nice guy.
Um, I do see him occasionally. He comes to Liverpool. He's played in the Cavern. He's very down to earth, a lot more down to earth than you would ever believe.
Yeah, that's brilliant to hear.
He's a very nice man, uh, that is definitely still a Scouser, despite his years in Sussex and London and travelling and New York and wherever he is. He's a good Scouse lad.
That's brilliant to hear. And thank you so much for your time. Like you said, you don't do a lot of these, so for you to speak to me is such a. I'm
No,
really.
I don't. It's pure coincidence that I did Giles Brandreth, and because I was in London, and he'd asked me and asked me and asked me, and I was in London. I thought, oh, I'm here, I'll do it. I don't do them. I really don't. It was the fact that you're 24, and I did one called the Egg Pod.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah.
But yeah, and he was young as well, and he was young, knew his stuff, wasn't so rude like you haven't been, as to come and talk to me without knowing anything, without, uh, and I actually enjoyed that, and I've kept it. So I want you to send this to me, and I'm going to archive it for myself.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah.
Just send it to me,
Yeah, definitely, I will do. Yeah.
and I'll keep it. I've only kept a few of all the stuff I've done. Because as I can tell you.
Yeah, it's brilliant that you.
Uh,
Like, obviously, I'll send it. And
yeah, yeah. Well, not everyone wants to, and I understand that. Egg Pod, and Hudson. That was it. This is how far back it was, 2021. They're the only two I've kept. Right.
Well, I'm honoured to be added to the list. Yeah, thank you for that.
Yeah, so, yeah, right, you're on the list.
Thank you. So you got much planned for the rest of the week?
Well, it is absolutely pissing down with rain out there. I mean, really, really horrendous. It's like midwinter. We were sweating in London. So I'm doing a bit of reading. I mean, just reading for myself. And I'm going to go and read by the fire. Need to do shopping because I've been away and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, nice.
The rain will put me off rushing around.
Exactly. Well, like I said, thank you so much for your time, Julie. It's been an honour to speak to you.
And thank you, for doing all your prep. That's good.
No worries, I genuinely did really enjoy the book, and like I said, it was a tragic story, but very insightful of yours and John's past and how everything led to
Yeah,
what it led to. Yeah,
yeah, and how he became the John that we know.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Julia.
Thank you.